Football, or soccer, as some of you rebels like to call it, is more than just a sport. It's a passion, a religion, and, let's be honest, the cause of a few broken windows. But where did this global phenomenon really begin? Grab your boots, folks, because today we're diving into the fascinating origins of football, tracing its journey from dusty streets to dazzling stadiums. And hey, if you're watching this while kicking a ball in your living room, try not to knock over the lamp, okay?
Our story begins thousands of years ago, long before VAR, corner flags, or players rolling around like they've been shot. The earliest evidence of football-like games comes from ancient China around 200 BC, where they played something called cuju. The word cuju literally means kick the ball, and it was played with a leather ball stuffed with feathers. It wasn't just a casual pastime, it had cultural significance and was even used for military training. Players aimed to kick the ball into a net without using their hands, just like today's football, but they played on a square field, and the goal was a piece of cloth hung between two posts. Meanwhile, the Greeks and Romans had their own versions of ball games. The Greeks played episkiros, which was a bit more chaotic, involving two teams with players trying to throw the ball over the opponent's heads. The Romans adapted this into a game called harpastum, a rough-and-tumble affair where strategy and brute force were the keys to victory. Imagine football mixed with wrestling. Basically, the only rule was to get the ball past the other team by any means necessary. These ancient games were less about finesse and more about physical dominance. Imagine a football match where tackling and body slams were encouraged. Sounds like a Sunday league match, doesn't it? Now, here's a question for you. If you could invent an ancient version of football, what would you call it? Let me know in the comments. Fast forward to medieval Europe, and football, or what passed for it, was pure chaos. This was an era where football wasn't confined to a pitch. Entire towns would participate in these football-like games, known as mob football. Villagers would chase a leather ball through streets, fields, rivers, whatever terrain they could find, towards some loosely defined goal, which could be anything from a tree to a church door several miles away. Matches could last for hours, and injuries were part of the fun. There were no standard rules. The size of the ball, the number of players, and even the size of the goals would vary wildly. It wasn't uncommon for these games to involve hundreds of players. Kicking, punching, and even throwing opponents into rivers was considered perfectly legal. The only objective? Get the ball to the other end, no matter what. These matches were so rowdy that they were often banned by authorities. Kings like Edward II and Henry IV in England saw these games as disruptive and even dangerous to public order. They issued royal decrees to stop the games, believing that the chaos was diverting men's attention away from more useful activities like archery practice, which was needed for military purposes. Still, the people loved the game too much for it to truly disappear. Football, in some form or another, persisted across Europe. If you had to play in a medieval football match, what role would you take? Would you be the ball carrier, the defender, or the one sneaking off to the pub? Drop your answers below. As we move into the 19th century, football underwent a transformation from chaos to order. The modern form of the game began to take shape in the public schools of England, such as Eton, Harrow, and Rugby. At these schools, football was encouraged as a way to build character, physical fitness, and teamwork among young men. However, each school had its own set of rules. Some schools allowed handling the ball, while others insisted that the ball could only be kicked. This created confusion when teams from different schools tried to play each other, leading to constant debates about the rules. To bring some order to the madness, the Football Association (FA) was formed in 1863 in London. The FA laid down the first formal rules of the game, known as the laws of the game. These rules outlawed running with the ball in your hands, separating football from its close cousin rugby, which developed from the same roots but allowed more physical play. The new rules spread quickly, and football clubs began to pop up across England. This was the birth of the structured organized sport we know today, where the focus shifted to teamwork, skill, and strategy. The first official match under FA rules took place in 1863 between Barnes and Richmond, ending in a 0-0 draw. Not the most thrilling start, but hey, it was history in the making. What do you think is the weirdest football rule? Let's debate it in the comments. As the British Empire expanded, so did football. British sailors, traders and soldiers took the game with them to every corner of the world. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, football had become a global phenomenon, embraced by countries from South America to Africa to Asia. One of the first countries outside of Europe to fall in love with football was Brazil, which embraced the game with an unmatched flair and creativity. The Brazilians added their own unique style to football, combining skill, rhythm, and passion. Football became more than just a game in Brazil, it became a part of the national identity. Players like Garrincha, Zico and Pelé would go on to become global icons, inspiring generations of footballers. In Europe, football developed into a more tactical and disciplined game, with countries like Italy and Germany creating defensively strong, highly organized teams. In Africa, the game brought communities together, and players from across the continent showcased incredible athleticism and talent. Football's first truly global competition was the Olympic Games, but the pinnacle of international football came with the creation of the FIFA World Cup in 1930. The tournament brought together the best teams from around the world, and it became the ultimate prize in football. The World Cup remains the most watched sporting event on the planet, uniting billions of people in their shared love of the game. As football grew in popularity, so did its venues. Massive stadiums became the cathedrals of the game, where fans gathered to worship their heroes. In Brazil, the Maracanã Stadium, built for the 1950 World Cup, is one of the largest and most iconic stadiums in the world, with the capacity to hold over 100,000 fans. In Spain, the Camp Nou, home of FC Barcelona, is a temple of football where some of the greatest players like Messi have displayed their magic. And in England, Wembley Stadium is hallowed ground, the scene of countless historic matches, including England's World Cup victory. As football became more organized, the professional game flourished, giving rise to legendary players whose names will live on forever. Pelé, the Brazilian maestro, won 3 World Cups and scored over 1,000 goals in his career. Diego Maradona, the Argentine magician, left defenders in his wake with his genius on the ball, and the infamous hand of God moment. Today, players like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have taken the game to new heights, shattering records and dominating headlines. But the heart of football has always been the fans. Whether they're singing their hearts out in stadiums or watching nervously from their couches, fans are the lifeblood of the game. From passionate chants and colorful banners to wild celebrations, football supporters add an extra layer of excitement to every match. So, here's a fun one. What's the craziest thing you've seen at a football match? Share your stories below. Today, football is more than just a sport. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, a cultural phenomenon, and for some, a reason to wake up at AM to watch their favorite team play. Football clubs have transformed into global brands, and superstars are revered around the world. Technology has also changed the game. The introduction of VAR, video assistant referee, has brought more precision and fairness, though it's also sparked its share of controversy. Players and fans alike debate whether VAR helps or hinders the flow of the game, but one thing is for sure, technology is here to stay. Football continues to evolve, and the diversity of players from all corners of the globe means that new stars are emerging every season. But what will football look like in years? Will we see robot referees, flying players, or will the game remain timeless, defined by its simplicity and the love of those who play it? What do you think football will look like in years? Drop your predictions.